Rachel with Didi, and today we're going to go over Leave It. Leave It is, Didi, come here. Leave It is important for his safety and for the protection of maybe your valuables, because you don't want Didi picking up anything that can harm him, and you also don't want him picking up anything of yours that you don't want damaged. It's also really helpful for walks if you see something, or maybe a pile of dog poop or something like that, and you don't want him to sniff it, just tell him to leave it and you can continue right on with your walk. Now, leave it is before he touches something, and drop it is for when he has something in his mouth. So these are things that you never want him to pick up, so when you tell him leave it, that's it, he's not supposed to touch it ever. So, with that in mind, don't practice leave it with his toys, because those are for him and he does get to have them eventually. We want to practice leave it on things that he never can have, and it's never okay for him to touch. So, I have a few things over on the table that I'm going to use for him. Now, I'm going to practice nice and close with him, and I'm going to swipe my hand in front of the object, between his nose and the object, and tell him to leave it. Now, with leave it, you don't necessarily give him treats, but tell him when it's okay to have something. So, when he leaves it, I'm going to hold out a treat to him and tell him to take it. So that way he knows if I tell him to leave it, he's not supposed to touch it. If I tell him to take it, he can have it, and he can take these treats from my hand. So, come here, Didi. I have this eraser here, Didi. I'm going to sit down. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Take it. Good boy, Didi. Good boy. All right, now you can see with that, he got interested in this. I swiped my hand in between and kind of broke that up for him so that it distracted him, and I told him to leave it. He was still kind of going for it, so I gave him what's called the no noise. That's an or and it kind of gets their attention and makes them stop whatever they're doing. So, I did that, and then once he stopped and wasn't interested in this anymore, I gave him a treat and told him to take it, so he knows that it's okay for him to have it. So I'll practice that again, Didi. Good boy. Alright, he's not interested in this, so I have something else here. This is a dog brush, so it smells like dogs to him, so it might be a little more interesting and tempting. Didi. Leave it. Leave it. Didi, leave it. Take it. Take it. He doesn't like these treats, so we're just going to focus on leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Good, leave it. Good boy. All right, that was good. So that shows you why we need to practice it. If that were a pile of dog poop, you wouldn't want to be down there getting your hand that close to it. But if you teach him to leave it and he understands what that means, when you come across that, it will be easier for you to tell him to leave it. Now with that, I kept on going over it, telling him to leave it and swiping my hand in front of it until he wasn't interested in it anymore. It's important to try it with objects that maybe he's unfamiliar with but aren't too tempting, so you don't set him up to fail. If it's too tempting, then he's just going to want to go for it and try to grab it before you can tell him to leave it. So we'll practice with one more item, and then we'll call it good. Didi, come here. Leave it. Leave it. Good, leave it. Good boy. All right, he caught on to that a lot more quickly this time. I just had to tell him to leave it a couple of times, swipe my hand through it, and he was good and left it alone. He stood back, wasn't trying to sniff it anymore, so then I can reward him and pet him and tell him good, leave it. So he did a good job. Practice this so that whenever there comes a time that you need to use it, he's good at it, and you can count on that. This was Rachel and Didi. We were working on Leave It.